Pennsylvania doesn't tax your Social Security. Not $1. It doesn't tax your pension either, or your 401k, or your IRA withdrawals once you hit retirement age. There's no cap on that, no income limit, no phase-out. You could pull $60,000 a year out of a retirement account, and the state takes nothing. Nobody talks about this. Everybody's still fighting over Florida. So here are the 15 most peaceful towns in Pennsylvania to retire in, counted down from 15 to 1. Quiet streets, low crime, real hospitals, walkable downtowns, and prices that would look like a typo anywhere else in the Northeast. I'll tell you exactly what each one gives you and who it fits best. Hit the like button if that sounds useful. Let's count down. Number 15. Wellsboro, Tioga County. About 3,400 people, and a quarter of them are already over 65. So you'll be moving into a town that has already built itself around people your age. Start with the main street, because it's the thing everyone remembers. It's lit by working gas lamps. Not reproductions, not decorative. Actual gas lamps, glowing over a downtown of brick storefronts and porch swings. A few miles west is Pine Creek Gorge, which everyone here calls the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon. 47 miles of it, with a flat paved rail trail running along the bottom that's one of the easiest long rides in the eastern half of the country, which matters when your knees start voting. The money is where this gets serious. Pennsylvania's median home value statewide is around $278,000, already below the national figure. Wellsboro comes in under that, around $245,000. Cost of living sits at or a little below the national average. Assisted living in the area runs about $3,700 a month, cheaper than the state average. Run that against the tax code, and it gets better. A retired couple pulling $50,000 a year out of pensions and Social Security pays zero state income tax on any of it. Buy here for $245,000 instead of $500,000 somewhere else, and the property tax bill scales down with the house. This is the whole Pennsylvania play, executed in one of its cheapest counties. And there's a real hospital in town, which is what got Wellsboro on this list when a dozen prettier villages didn't. UPMC Wellsboro, the one locals still call Soldiers and Sailors, full service, with an emergency department. At a summer classical music festival that brings serious musicians into the county, and state forest in every direction you look. Wellsboro is for the retiree who wants genuine quiet, drives comfortably, and likes the idea of a doctor 5 minutes away and a specialist an hour out. If that's you, there may be nowhere better in the state. And the town knows how to fill a calendar. There's a Laurel Festival in June, a dinner theater, a restored Art Deco movie house, and a courthouse green that hosts concerts through the summer. For 3,400 people, that's a remarkable amount of programming, and almost all of it is walkable from the center of town. That's the far end of the quiet spectrum. The next town gives you mountains without the isolation. Number 14. Jim Thorpe, Carbon County. About 4,500 people. Median age 48. Roughly 22% over 65. Jim Thorpe sits down in a river gorge in the Poconos foothills and looks like somebody dropped a Victorian town into Switzerland. That's not me being cute. People have called it the Switzerland of America for 100 years. Ornate 19th century buildings stacked up the hillsides, a restored opera house that still books live acts, and Lehigh Gorge State Park right there with kayaking and one of the best rail trails in the eastern United States. Crime runs below the state average, violent and property both. This is a place where people leave the porch light off. The downtown is small enough to learn in a week and interesting enough that you don't get bored of it. Independent shops, a handful of good restaurants, seasonal festivals, and a steady stream of visitors who keep the businesses healthy without ever quite outnumbering the residents. And you're not cut off. Allentown is 22 miles. Philadelphia is about 70. That combination, mountain town plus metro access, is rare enough that most people assume you have to pick one. One planning note, and it's a good one to know early. The town is built on slopes, So the smart buy is the flatter ground down near the river rather than up the hillside. People who move here in their early 60s and choose that ground get 20 excellent years out of Jim Thorpe. Walk the route from your future front door to a parking spot before you sign, and you'll know immediately whether a house is right. Number 13. Gettysburg, Adams County. You know the name. What you probably don't know is that about 32% of the surrounding community is 55 or older. This is already a retirement town. It just doesn't market itself as one. The battlefield is 6,000 acres of protected open ground with paved roads and walking paths, and the locals treat it exactly like what it is, a park. 6,000 acres that will never be developed, 5 minutes from your house. Downtown is walkable and historic, and Gettysburg College keeps a steady supply of lectures and concerts running through the calendar. Healthcare is strong. WellSpan Gettysburg Hospital has earned national recognition for stroke care, which is precisely the capability that matters most at this stage of life, and the larger WellSpan hospitals in York handle anything more complicated. Senior housing is where Gettysburg really separates itself. Cross Keys Village, just north of town, is one of the largest single-site nonprofit continuing care communities in Pennsylvania. Independent living, assisted living, and skilled nursing on one campus, which means you never leave the campus or your friends when your needs change. And the location is quietly excellent. You're close to both Baltimore and Washington, so family in the Mid-Atlantic can come for the afternoon rather than the weekend. Adams County around the town is orchard country, which means roadside fruit stands in season and a farm market culture that runs from spring through the fall harvest. It's the kind of place where your weekly routine ends up including a drive out for peaches. Locals will tell you the trick to living here, and it's simple. The visitors stay on a very small number of streets. Buy 2 blocks off the tourist corridor, and you get the museums, the restaurants, and the history, in an ordinary quiet county seat with a hardware store and people who've been there 40 years. Number 12. Hollidaysburg, Blair County. 5,500 people, and the number that matters is this one. Almost 22% are 65 or older, one of the highest shares on this list. You will not be the only retiree on your street. You'll be surrounded by them, and that changes everything about how easy it is to make friends at 70. This is the affordability champion of the countdown. Homes run somewhere between $165,000 and $196,000, well below the state figure, far below the national one. If you're selling a house in New Jersey or the Philadelphia suburbs, that's not a small difference. That's the difference between spending down your savings and never touching them. At those numbers, a lot of people here retire with no mortgage at all. No mortgage, no state tax on your retirement income, and a property tax bill calculated on a house worth under $200,000. That combination is why a modest pension goes further in Blair County than a good one goes in most of the country. This is also the profile the state's rebate program was built for. The property tax and rent rebate program was expanded in 2023, the first expansion in nearly 20 years. If you're 65 or older, you can claim up to $1,000 back a year. Only half your Social Security counts toward the income test, and the ceiling now rises with inflation. $48,110 for rebates on 2025 taxes and rent. The town itself is a county seat with a walkable historic downtown along the Juniata River and the kind of community fabric you only get where families stayed put for generations. Presbyterian Village at Hollidaysburg handles senior living right in town. Healthcare comes out of Altoona nearby, including UPMC Altoona and the James E. Van Zant FIV Medical Center. If you're a veteran, that last one alone should put Blair County near the top of your list. Number 11. Boalsburg, Center County. The smallest entry so far, and it has the best hospital-to-population ratio on this entire list. Boalsburg is a village just outside State College, in the valley everybody calls Happy Valley. It claims to be the birthplace of Memorial Day and has the Pennsylvania Military Museum to back it up. Stone buildings, a real village center, and the kind of quiet where you can hear the church bells from your kitchen. What makes it work is 5 minutes away. Mount Nittany Medical Center. 260 beds, more than 60 specialties. Villages of a few thousand people do not get medical depth like that anywhere else in rural Pennsylvania. Then there's the university, and this is the part people underestimate. Penn State means an art museum, an arboretum, public lectures, continuing education classes, concerts, and big-time college sports, all of it available to a 70-year-old with a parking pass. Retirees here audit courses in subjects they never had time for. The intellectual life of a college town may be the single most valuable amenity on this entire countdown, and it costs almost nothing to use. The village also has an unusual amount of life for its size, with a summer arts festival, farm markets, and a tavern that's been serving since the 1800s. State College sits minutes away for anything you can't find locally, so you get a village address with a small city's worth of grocery stores, restaurants, and specialists behind it. Boalsburg fits the retiree who wants a small village address and a university's worth of things to do inside a 10-minute drive. Number 10. Emmaus, Lehigh County. About 11,700 people, roughly 18% over 65. Moravians founded Emmaus in 1759, and you can still read the original town plan in the street grid. There's a single-screen movie theater on the main street that still runs. There's a community park. There's a Halloween parade that's one of the biggest in the Lehigh Valley. This is a town with rituals, which is a completely different thing from a town with attractions. Rituals are how you meet people. Safety is a standout. Crime grade gives Emmaus an A-, and Movoto has ranked it 5th safest in the state. The healthcare here might be the second best on this list. Outpatient care is in town, and about 5 miles out you have Lehigh Valley Hospital at Cedar Crest, ranked number 1 in the Allentown region, along with St. Luke's in Allentown. These are large, serious hospitals. Small-town living with metro-grade medicine is the exact combination this entire countdown is hunting for, and Emmaus has it at 11,000 people. Lehigh Valley International Airport is 20 minutes, so your kids are one short flight away. Philadelphia is 90 minutes. Median home value sits around $377,000. This is the landing spot for anyone moving out of North Jersey or the New York suburbs who doesn't actually want rural life. You keep your 10-minute errands and your major hospital. You drop the cost and the taxes. That's the halfway mark, and from here on, these towns stop being good at a few things and start being good at nearly all of them. Number 9. Carlisle, Cumberland County. 21 to 23,000 people, somewhere between 17 and 19% over 65, founded in 1751. Carlisle stacks 3 institutions on top of each other: Dickinson College, Dickinson Law, and the United States Army War College. That produces a rich mix of students, professors, and senior military officers, and a lot of those officers retire right there because they spent a year in town and decided they liked it. When people who could live anywhere choose to stay, that tells you something. Safewise has named it one of the safest college towns in the country. The Appalachian Trail runs right through the county. Center Point Knob, a few miles south of neighboring Boiling Springs, was the trail's original halfway point when it was finished in the 1930s, and the current midpoint sits at Pine Grove Furnace State Park about half an hour out. So you get world-class hiking, a lake town, and thru-hiker culture on your doorstep. UPMC Carlisle, 165 beds, is in town. Harrisburg's full range of hospitals is 30 minutes east, and so is the airport. Median home value is around $330,000, which for a town with this much institutional weight behind it is a bargain. Snowfall in this part of the state runs around 24 inches a year, mild by Pennsylvania standards, and the location is about as convenient as Pennsylvania gets. Carlisle sits where Interstate 81 meets the Turnpike, which means you can be in Baltimore, Philadelphia, or Pittsburgh without ever hunting for a route. Number 8. Ligonier, Westmoreland County. 1,500 people. The smallest town here, and quite possibly the most peaceful place in Pennsylvania. Ligonier is built around a village green called the Diamond, with a bandstand in the middle and shops on all four sides. Fort Ligonier anchors the history. Fort Ligonier, days in the fall and Ice Fest in the winter, give the year a rhythm you can set your calendar by. Idlewild, one of the oldest amusement parks in America, is minutes away for when the grandkids visit. And the Laurel Highlands wrap around all of it with state parks, trout streams, and some of the best hiking in the state. There's essentially no traffic. There's essentially no crime. Quiet isn't something you go looking for in Ligonier. It's the default setting. Full-service hospitals sit in the Greensburg and Latrobe area, a short drive out, with Pittsburgh's major systems and the international airport a little over an hour away. Winters here are the snowiest on this list, because the Laurel Highlands catch elevation snow the rest of the state never sees. If you like a real winter, and plenty of people move here specifically for it, this is the postcard version. Ligonier is for the retiree who is comfortable driving, doesn't need a city to feel alive, and wants to spend the next 20 years somewhere that looks like a Christmas card in February. Number 7. Kennett Square, Chester County. 6,000 people, and it's the mushroom capital of the world. That's not a bit. Roughly half the mushrooms grown in the United States come out of the surrounding county. What that farming money built is a town with restaurants, festivals, and a genuinely great main street. There's a mushroom festival. There's a Cinco de Mayo festival that reflects a large, long-established Mexican-American community. There's a farmer's market. For a town of 6,000, the food is absurd. Chester County has some of the lowest crime rates in Pennsylvania, with violent crime running about 53% below the national average. It's one of the safest counties in the Northeast. Senior living here is exceptional. Kendall at Longwood and Crosslands are Quaker-founded continuing care communities with national reputations, and they sit right beside Longwood Gardens, one of the great public gardens on Earth. Plenty of retirees here hold a membership and walk it weekly, in every season. Longwood itself deserves a sentence of its own. More than 1,000 acres of gardens, meadows, and woodland, with a heated conservatory that stays green through January, and a fountain show in the summer. Retirees who live nearby treat it as a walking route rather than an attraction, which is a genuinely lovely way to spend a Tuesday in February. You're also positioned between Philadelphia and Wilmington, with major hospitals in both directions. And there's a local trick worth knowing. Pennsylvania's sales tax is 6%, and clothing and most groceries are exempt entirely. Cross into Delaware, 20 minutes south, and there's no sales tax at all. People here know exactly which side of the line to buy an appliance on. If this is helping, subscribe. I break down American towns and the real numbers behind them every week, and the top 6 scored higher than everything you've heard so far. Number 6. Mechanicsburg, Cumberland County. Around 9,000 in the borough, sitting on the west shore across the river from Harrisburg. Mechanicsburg is the practical pick, and its best feature is one nobody puts in a brochure. The downtown is flat, compact, and walkable, which sounds minor right up until you're 78 with a bad knee, and half the charming towns in this state turn out to be built on hillsides. Its real edge is senior infrastructure. There are multiple continuing care communities in and around town: Bethany Village, Messiah Lifeways, Country Meadows. That's a competitive market, and competitive markets mean better options and better pricing for you. There's also bus service with dedicated senior programs, so handing over the car keys here doesn't mean handing over your independence. Healthcare is dense in every direction. UPMC West Shore is minutes out. Penn State Health Holy Spirit in Camp Hill runs 310 beds and is rated high-performing for hip fractures, pneumonia, and heart arrhythmia. Harrisburg adds more across the river. And Harrisburg International Airport is a short drive, which puts your children one flight away, no matter where they live. Snowfall around Harrisburg averages about 24 inches a year, which in Pennsylvania counts as an easy winter. And you're inside easy reach of a lot. Harrisburg's riverfront, museums, and theaters are across the bridge. Carlisle and its Appalachian Trail country are 20 minutes west. Lancaster's markets are under an hour southeast. Mechanicsburg puts you at the center of south-central Pennsylvania rather than out at the edge of it, which is why so many people who work in Harrisburg for 30 years simply stay put when they retire. Number 5. Sewickley, Allegheny County. 3,700 people, about 21% over 65, median household income around $101,000. Sewickley sits on the Ohio River 12 miles northwest of Pittsburgh, and it's one of the loveliest boroughs in the state. Beaver Street is the main strip, genuinely walkable, with bookstores and restaurants under old shade trees, and the river at the end of it. The hospital is right in the borough, and it just got a serious upgrade. It spent decades as Heritage Valley Sewickley, and as of July 2026, it's AHN Sewickley Hospital, after Allegheny Health Network finalized its takeover of the Heritage Valley system. In practical terms, your local hospital is now plugged into one of the two big Western Pennsylvania networks, with hundreds of millions in committed investment behind it. And the full UPMC and AHN systems in Pittsburgh are a short drive for anything specialized. Between those two networks, Western Pennsylvania has some of the best medicine in the country. Pittsburgh International Airport is close, just across the bridge. Very few small towns can say that. This is also the best answer on this list for anyone with family already in Western Pennsylvania. You get out of the city and into a walkable riverfront borough, and you're still 20 minutes from Sunday dinner. That's a very different calculation than moving 800 miles south and seeing everybody twice a year. Number 4. Doylestown, Bucks County. 8,300 people. County seat, about 30 miles from Center City, Philadelphia, and 80 from New York. Doylestown has more culture per square foot than anywhere else on this countdown. Inside a few walkable blocks, you have the County Theater, an Art Deco cinema showing independent films. The Mercer Museum, a concrete castle stuffed floor to ceiling with pre-industrial American tools. The Meitner Art Museum. Fonthill Castle. A curious retired person could fill a calendar here and never start the car. Doylestown Hospital has an unusually strong safety record, and Philadelphia's world-class hospital system is under an hour away. There's a train straight into the city, so a night at the orchestra doesn't require driving home at 11. The surrounding county helps too. Bucks County keeps large amounts of preserved open space and parkland within a short drive, including lakes, towpath trails along the Delaware, and the river towns north of town, so the countryside starts about 10 minutes past the last traffic light. Home prices here are the highest on the list, with a median sale price around $675,000 as of early 2026, which tells you exactly who this town is for. If you're selling in northern New Jersey or Westchester and moving sideways into somewhere quieter with dramatically better tax treatment, Doylestown is close to perfect. You trade a crowded, heavily taxed suburb for a walkable historic borough, and Pennsylvania stops taxing your retirement income the day you arrive. Number 3. Hershey, Dauphin County. 15,000 people in Derry Township, just east of Harrisburg. And it's not here for the chocolate. It's here for Penn State Health Milton S. Hershey Medical Center. More than 600 beds. An academic medical center. U.S. News ranks it 6th in Pennsylvania and 1st in the Harrisburg region for 2025 and 2026, with national rankings in ear, nose, and throat at number 40, gastroenterology and GI surgery at 46, and orthopedics at 49. It's rated high-performing in 5 more specialties, and one of those 5 is geriatrics. It's the region's only Level 1 trauma center for both adults and children. Think about what that means in practice. Have a cardiac event in Hershey, and you're not being stabilized and transferred somewhere else. You're already there. Develop something complicated at 80, and you're not driving 2 hours to see a specialist. The specialist is 10 minutes from your kitchen. There is no other town of 15,000 people in this state where that's true. Everything else is gravy, and there's a lot of gravy. Hershey Gardens is 23 acres with a butterfly atrium and a rose collection people drive across the state to see. There's golf. There's the Hershey Theater. Harrisburg is 15 minutes, the airport 20, and snowfall averages a manageable 24 inches. And there's a strong argument for buying here early rather than late. People tend to move for medical reasons after something has already happened, which means moving under pressure on somebody else's timeline. Moving to Hershey at 65 is cheap insurance. You get the gardens and the theater and the golf for 15 years, and the trauma center is already there the day you need it. Number 2. Lewisburg, Union County. 5,200 people, roughly 17.5% over 65. Lewisburg is what happens when a small river town also gets a serious liberal arts college. Bucknell sits at the edge of the borough and supplies everything a town of 5,000 can't generate on its own. Concerts, theater, art exhibitions, public lectures, a library, Division I sports. Retirees here go to recitals on a Tuesday because there's a recital on a Tuesday. Median household income in the borough is about $42,000, which tells you exactly how far your retirement income stretches against local prices. Market Street, the historic downtown, is on the National Register. The walk score is around 70, and, crucially, the ground is flat. There's a bus. The Susquehanna runs right along the edge of town. The hospital is the real surprise. Evangelical Community Hospital joined WellSpan Health in July 2024 and is now WellSpan Evangelical Community Hospital. 131 licensed beds, more than 170 physicians on staff, and the only hospital in the central Susquehanna Valley with a 5-star rating from Medicare. WellSpan committed more than $100 million of investment into the facility over 3 years. That is a better hospital than most cities of 100,000 people have. Senior housing is established too, with Buffalo Valley Lutheran Village and Riverwoods, so the full continuum of care exists inside the town you already know. And pay attention to that flat ground, because it sounds like a throwaway detail, and it isn't. Flat, walkable, with a 5-star hospital and a historic downtown inside a few blocks, is the closest thing there is to a town that ages with you. Number 1. Lidditz, Lancaster County. Around 9,500 people, about a quarter of them over 65. In February 2013, readers of Budget Travel voted Lidditz the coolest small town in America. 924 towns were nominated, 15 made the final round, nearly 100,000 votes were cast, and Lidditz won. That was more than a decade ago, and the town has only gotten better since. It takes the top spot because it does every single thing on this list well. Healthcare. UPMC Lidditz is a full-service hospital inside the town. Emergency department, women's health, cancer care. Lancaster's larger systems, including Penn Medicine Lancaster General, ranked first in the Lancaster region, are 9 miles away. Walkability. The downtown is flat and tight. Lidditz Springs Park sits at the center of it, 7 acres with a spring-fed stream running through. The oldest commercial pretzel bakery in the country is on the main street, and so is the old Wilbur Chocolate Building. There's a Thursday farmers market, restaurants, a bookstore, a brewery, and a hardware store, all on foot. Safety. In 2024, the borough recorded 1 violent crime. 1. That's roughly 96% below the national rate, and it is about as close to 0 as an American town gets. Community. The senior center serves residents 60 and up with programs, meals, and transportation. The Moravian roots go back to 1756 and still show up in the music, the architecture, and the institutions. Senior housing. Moravian Manor Communities runs a full continuing care campus, and it's within walking distance of downtown. Sit with that one, because it matters more than anything else on this list. It means the version of you who eventually needs assisted living doesn't have to leave the town, or the friends, or the streets. You move a few blocks. You still walk to the park. Weather. Lancaster averages about 21 inches of snow a year, the mildest winter in this entire countdown. Location: Lancaster is 9 miles. Philadelphia is 90 minutes. Harrisburg International Airport is 45. Zillow put the average Lidditz home value around $459,000 in spring 2026, up about 5% in a year, with homes going pending in under a week. Median annual property tax is around $3,700. That's a premium by Pennsylvania standards, and it buys a town that already solved the problems most retirement towns never solve. Sell a 4-bedroom you no longer need, buy something small in the borough, put the difference to work, and let the state's tax treatment do the rest. Compared to what a walkable town with a hospital in it costs anywhere else in the Northeast, Lidditz is still a bargain. So how do you actually choose? Sort by what matters most to you, because all 15 of these towns work, just for different people. If healthcare is the priority, and after 75 it usually should be, your shortlist is Hershey, Boalsburg, and Emmaus. Each one puts a major hospital minutes from your door. If your money needs to stretch, look at Hollidaysburg, Wellsboro, and Carlisle, and file for the property tax and rent rebate the first year you qualify. That's up to $1,000 a year that a surprising number of eligible people never claim. If you want the mildest winters, stay in the southeast and the lower Susquehanna Valley. Lidditz, Kennett Square, Doylestown, Mechanicsburg, Carlisle, and Emmaus all sit in the 21 to 33-inch snow range. And if you want the postcard, Ligonier, Jim Thorpe, and Wellsboro are the 3 most beautiful places on this list. Full stop. Whichever direction you go, do 3 things. Visit in February as well as October, because you should see your town in both outfits. Confirm a primary care practice that's taking new Medicare patients before you commit. And pull the actual tax bill on the actual house rather than the county average. One last thing. Every town here made the list because it's quiet, safe, and built at human scale. But what really determines whether a retirement works isn't the town. It's whether you know the people in it. The 3 that ranked highest, Lidditz, Lewisburg, and Hershey, all share the same quiet feature. So pick the town that gives you a reason to leave the house.